Alright, I think we might be live. Looks like we are. Oh, yep, 30 seconds. Hello, hello, hello. Troy Darling, Froggy Master 77, Mystery 13, as always. How are you? He's now Fort Worth. I'm going to be rolling some videos and some commentary. This is about some Houston stuff, but what I think is new that might not already be out on YouTube is I'm going to be watching the press conferences and the statements of the various players and asking very poignant questions as to the validity of their claims. Gary, what's up, man? Thunder Rolls Media, how you doing? Blue Unicorn 71 Mach 1. And respond to something. I was going to let this whole Houston thing just blow on by, right? I'm not so much in this specific type of game right now, but I got home and heard on one of James Freeman's video about a president of a police union, Joe Gamaldi or something like that, actually speaking to quote unquote activists, of which I consider myself one. And he said things like, we have your number and we're going to track you and we're going to hold you accountable for your rhetoric that calls the police the enemy type talk, right? I thought that was hilarious. Hilarious. Just want to throw some support up for James's call for a mass police cop watching type activities this upcoming Friday. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and get on James Freeman video real quick. So I'm not going to delay this much longer. I tried to put these into a nice sequential order for you. And these are just questions. As I watch these videos, man, questions pop into my mind left and right. I just want you to see a little bit through the filter, the lens that I see when I just try to get, thinking about ethics and logic and the actual reality of what they're claiming, as well as pointing out the obvious, very careful and selective word choice and the propaganda style they put this in. So to start off, here's a mainstream news channel down there in Houston, KHOU 11, I guess. And I'm just going to hit play and then go pause now and then, and I'll try to keep my eye out on the comment stream. If any of you have any specific questions or want me to address a certain issue, or maybe I missed something, let me know and I'll do my best to keep an eye out on that. This is dedicated to Joe Gamaldi, the police chief and the mayor down in Houston. Have a listen. Here we go.
Tonight, the head of the Houston Police Officers Union is setting the record straight about strong words he made last night that have many of you talking on our Facebook page.
Now, I'm going to come back to that because first I want to go to his comments, which are... Well, did I just put it all up in this one video? I think I did. Nope, this one right here. Okay. I want the full Monty here. Here we go. Hey, Rika, how you doing?
Yeah, first of all, let me just thank the community. The outpouring of support has once been amazing, and it shows why Houston's the greatest city in the world.
Hey, Rika, real quick. Does the title of my video show up on your feed and say something about live cop watching now? Because I go to change the title in Streamlabs and I hit go live, and I would think it would replace that default with the new one that I put in. But whatever. All right, here we go.
World. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who already contacted us to make sure these officers are doing all right. And I want to thank all of our partners at HFD, all the officers out on that scene, who all played a crucial role in getting them down here. And certainly thank you to the medical staff, the world-class medical staff here that are taking care of our officers. But now I want to speak on behalf of the 5,200 brave men and women of the Houston Police Department and the other 800,000 police officers that are working these streets every single day, putting their lives on the line. We are sick and tired of having targets on our back. We are sick and tired of having dirtbags trying to take our lives when all we're trying to do is protect this community and protect our families.
Okay, so I'm sure people have commented on this before, right? I don't know if I have too much of something new to add other than. So let me just to get this straight. You go in with your undercover cops, no knock warrant, bang down the door and go shotguns first. And all of a sudden you're the ones that have targets on your backs. Like nobody targeted them. He's using this as an opportunity. He's spinning it into, hey, the police have the justified right to be upset. Every time we get shot, it's never our fault. We're heroes. We never start anything, and we're tired of people shooting back. Just, I'm sorry, I find that ironically hilarious.
Enough is enough. And if you're the ones that are out there spreading the rhetoric that police officers are the enemy, well, just know we've all got your number now. We're going to be keeping track of all of y'all, and we're going to make sure that we hold you accountable every time you stir the pot on our police officers.
Police officers are the enemy. Did you hear me correctly on that? Police officers are the enemy. There's no two ways about it. Let's see. Google already has a warrant out on 2 of my phones that are in evidence lockers. Have at it. Have at it. You're gonna see later in this the critiques. He really stirred up the pot. Like, I'm not the only person saying this. Like, his comments were like, "Give me a break," because obviously a lot of people consider themselves activists. You don't have to point a camera at a cop to consider yourself an activist. Like, anybody who just wants to increase their accountability and transparency in what they do, could be an activist. And oh by the way, here's a little detail coming up. No cop cameras. No cop cameras on any of the cops instigating a no-knock raid, guns drawn. What? What? We'll get to that later. I got more on that. Wow.
We've had enough, folks. We're out there doing our jobs every day, putting our lives on the line for our families.
Their lives on the line for their families. I mean, really, who do the police really protect? Voters and property taxpayers, right? Everyone else, anytime a voter or property taxpayer complains, that's kind of who the police ultimately have to be accountable to through the chains of command. So he obviously doesn't say everyone. None of these people say we're protecting everyone, because they know they're not. They're not even trying to sell that. Us and our families. The drug war is a failure. Like, here's nothing new. The drug war is lost. It always was. It was destined to failure. You cannot prevent people from wanting to get high. It's against human nature. It's so obviously just this asset forfeiture. Let's throw people in prison. Let's make money and prey off the farming of human beings as much as we can. We have the money to do it. We have the brainwashed sheep who will come in, wear a badge and a gun, and go ahead and do it. Go look at other countries that have ended their drug war. See what the population, how they reacted to this. Were there more or less addicts? Did drug use go up or did it go down? Did the prison population go up or go down? Did violent associated crime go up or go down? What did the police equivalent officers from those countries say after all these facts came out? They said, I was wrong. I feel horrible that I was wrong. Everything I said would happen didn't happen, and everything the other side said would happen did happen. I was wrong. Like, this drug war is so obviously a hustle, a violent, murderous hustle, a war waged on the people of this quote-unquote country. I saw an awesome podcast yesterday. Just want to shout it out there real quick. A guy named Johann Hari, Johannhari. Johann Hari. He was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was recently on Mike Tyson's podcast. He pretty much said the same thing in both, and he's loaded with factual evidence. The guy is a professional. He's the subject matter expert when it comes to the history of the drug war, internationally as well. So if you got a problem with what I'm saying, go look up that guy and go check out his sources, because I'm standing on what he's saying. It's just so obviously a joke. I mean, how much longer is this going to go on? Imagine what people decades from now look back on this. I mean, just flip the table around. If you and your buddies got together and said, "Hey, you can buy our drugs, so we can make money off the sale of our legal drugs, but you can't make your own drugs and sell those. Otherwise, we'll come in here, no knock, and kill you. Comply or die authority. We are going to storm it." If anything, a judge will sign it, throw you in prison. If anything even close happened to any one of these guys in their home, would they be? Oh, sorry. I can't even get mad, man. This shit's too funny to be real.
Enough is enough. Now, please keep these officers in your prayers.
Okay, so not to offend anybody who believes in God, but again, we're talking about real world violence and murder, crime that's going on. factual evidence should be at the front, right? Appealing to an entity that you have no factual evidence of its existence isn't helping your cause, and is quite telling. Is quite telling. Keep all these officers in your How many people on this planet died today? None of those cops even died. How many people are going through so much worse? How arrogant, how hubristic is it to appeal to some entity with no factual evidence of its existence anywhere to be seen, to appeal to that as if, oh, you're going to care about these 5 or 4 people above all the other problems going on. Yes, there's a benevolent father figure. I mean, if that's not the patriarchy, I don't know what is. All right, let's go to the. So now he's getting some flack for these comments a little bit, and it has more of comments he's saying in different places. I thought this was really interesting. It's just a couple minutes long.
We are sick and tired of having dirtbags trying to take our lives when all we're trying to do is protect this community and protect our families.
If you're standing on the truth, do you really need to demonize people who don't want to be murdered in their homes by the cops and defend themselves? If you're standing on truth, do you really need to insult your opponents? I wouldn't think so. But hey, it's all psychological warfare, right? We are a country of sheep.
Enough is enough.
Some people are worried Joe Gamaldi's emotional remarks will drive a deeper wedge between the community and police.
Think?
Jessica Borg talked with him about his powerful words that are making headlines nationwide.
The police union president says he's gotten a lot of support for his comments and also criticism. Tonight, he's doubling down, calling on law enforcement leaders to use social media and other platforms to confront activists.
So she says a lot of support and some criticism. Obviously, emphasis on support to give people the impression who aren't thinking, oh, he must have got a lot more support than criticism.
He's known as a firebrand.
And if you're the ones that are out there spreading the rhetoric that police officers are the enemy, well, just know we've all got your number now. We're going to be keeping track of all of y'all.
The president of the Houston Police Union, hours after 4 officers were shot serving a search warrant.
They were serving a search warrant. Or they dressed up commando style, broke in someone's door, came in with hot lead, greased the dog right away. No, I'm going to let, if you haven't heard these details, I'll let some videos play out so you can get these details later. I don't believe a second of this cop story, but hey, I'll get into that later.
Today, Joe Gamaldi standing firm that it's becoming more and more of a dangerous climate for law enforcement to do their jobs.
Are police becoming more and more dangerous to the people they claim to be protecting? To the inhabitants of this landmass, let's say. Are they becoming more and more violent? We're sitting on what? 16, 17 years of warfare, and a lot of guys come back and they switch from military to being a cop. And that's not going to be an effect worth mentioning here. I mean, live streaming cameras came out on everybody's cell phone. And now it's all the cops. Oh, everything's different now. Everything's different now. Oh, we got to deal with actual reality being captured in a way for the world to see at a moment's notice. It's getting more and more dangerous to be a cop. So don't be a cop. I'm going to try to do this without swearing. Pick another profession. It's the only one you possibly could have some kind of skills worth anything in. If you don't like it, go do something else. It doesn't agree with you. If you don't have what it takes, don't do it. Some of us think that if all cops were fired right this second, people would be safer than they were yesterday. Because how many guns are around? And there's this big, huge psychological deterrent. Oh my gosh, there's no cops. Nobody can call 911. Any kind of break-in might just result in me getting shot. Oh, that's anarchy. Oh, that's chaos. Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, it wouldn't be pretty. Oh, horrible things would happen. But once everything leveled out, what if you had to be your own cops? You had to hire your own cops. You had to get together in communal organizations to provide security. Like, you don't think most people want safety and security? You think it's just going to be lawless looting on forever? I mean, the cops don't protect. When the shit hits the fan, is a cop ever there? Or do you have to survive it on your own, and then later the cops will come? We're trying to protect this. How about you knock on the door? right? Oh, it's black tar heroin. Oh, look at these articles. Opioids and heroin. What is the connection? Heroin is a type of opioid. Prescription pain relievers and heroin are chemically similar and can produce similar effects. This is drugabuse.gov. I pulled this off a government website. Heroin is cheaper and easier to get than prescription opioids. Because of this, people who are addicted to prescription opioids by who? Legalized drug dealers, pharmacists, doctors, surgeons, right? 4 out of 5 new heroin users report misusing prescription opioids before trying heroin. Well, I'm sure that statistic is perfectly accurate. Oh, I'm sure all this type of information gets reported correctly. I mean, how many people die of prescription opioids? Prescription opioids are just as deadly as heroin when they are misused. This is according to dualdiagnosis.org. Both heroin and prescription opioids are highly addictive materials. Both drugs alter the brain and cause severe withdrawal symptoms. While there's a greater stigma against heroin use, the sheer amount of individuals who engage in prescription drug abuse has made prescription drugs responsible for half of all overdose deaths in the United States. But oh, 4 officers get shot and 1 bangs his knee, and the world has to come to an end, and everybody pray for this? You deal in the drug war. My God. you enforce this. Oh, if you better have a prescription on that bottle, and it better be your name and only your name. Otherwise, it's off to jail you go, and here comes some felonies. We're going to ruin your life. Why do people get addicted? Well, because they want to escape. Mostly. Well, what do they want to escape? The fact that their lives suck. Nobody wants to be a drug addict. Nobody wants to be strung out on drugs. But quite often it's a lack of connection to family, friends, and community that has them scrambling for the escape. And when you throw them in prison and put fines all over them and take away any legal license and ruin their opportunity to get a judge and separate them from their kids, you're creating the very disconnect that leads to more addiction. Police are absolutely the puppets of the enemy. Of course, who's pulling those strings? Judges, right? I'm that guy on the internet that says judges are the problem. It's not really the cops. Cops are just the symptom. Judges are the problem. Judges are the disease because they enforce all of this from the bottom to the top. From your local magistrate all the way to the Supreme Court. Every single one of them bastards in a black robe is a demon in human form. I'm being, speaking kind of silly here, but in the grand scheme of the totality of the unnecessary suffering caused by what they inflict on people, I don't think it's much of an exaggeration. I mean, at least a demon would be recognizable. You could do something about that. These guys just have it so well hidden. And most people would scoff at me saying such things. Oh, how dare you? I bet you don't even stand for the flag. They start this drug war. And this guy's like, oh, we're trying to protect you.
It could be the activists that decide they want to stir up every single use of force incident, even though it is overwhelmingly justified.
Justified according to who? Prosecutors and judges, bar members. What, you think everybody's just going to accept your definition of what's justified? Let's have some... No, I'm not. If someone hypothetically, in an imaginary alternate universe, got together with some cronies, banged down your door, and stormed in guns first, would you be saying, if they killed somebody in that home, that it was justified? Just flip the reverse here. Oh, well, I don't do drugs. Oh, I don't do black tar heroin. So no, that wouldn't be justified. Do I have somebody creeping on my Discord channel here? I think I do, because it automatically goes to live. I do. Lawn Gums, hold on for a second. I can hear you here, buddy. Poof. Okay. Oh, how dare you want to look through logic and ethics and actual reality and reverse the roles here. How dare you? We've got a narrative to sell and you should believe us, and I've got a serious face and I've got glasses and perfectly manicured hair. I'm so clean cut. I've got a nice shirt and a tie and a job and a badge behind me. You should believe me.
in every single case.
But what you will not do as a police officer or as another Houstonian is police me in my speech, my free speech.
At a heated city council meeting this afternoon,
I wish I was there.
activists calling for council members to condemn Gamaldi's words. The mayor and council avoided the controversy,
working together,
instead focusing on the wounded officers and community support for them.
every day they risk their lives to protect you,
They do not
to
protect
me,
They set
and
me
to
up with
protect.
charges.
I love to listen to people giving council members crap. It always makes me giggle.
Social media, Gamaldi's comment.
Look at some of these. Ooh, this guy listed off all the big names that have been killed in the news from police actions. This guy's criticizing his way of using an insult of dirtbag. I guess people flooded their Facebook comments.
Drawing both praise.
Oh, here we go. Keep up the awesome work, Joe. Pro cop. If you are sick of it, quit. Enough is enough of cops who lie and murder. Oh, good times.
And disgust.
People can create their own faux outrage however they choose to, but the fact
Faux outrage. Would you say that to the family of the woman who was killed in this incident? Because she didn't fire any bullets at you, according to you, and yet you killed her. You killed her. You claim, while not having any cameras, that after you barged in and the dog was shot, that she was somehow laying down and reached over to an officer who had been shot and had fallen on the couch. So all of that chaos has gone on, and a 58-year-old woman who never actually fired a shot, her action was to reach over that officer's body and go for his tactical shotgun. That's what you're trying to sell. With no cameras, and you expect us to believe that. A 58-year-old woman is going to go so gangster, oh, here's the cops, let me grab this fallen cop's shotgun and blast the rest of them with it. This ain't no Hollywood movie. Yeah, if that's what they told you, you don't think, oh, there's just no chance that they're stretching that truth at all? Why didn't you have cameras there? Then you wouldn't, we wouldn't have to take your word for it. Because you don't want to be accountable. You don't want to be transparent. It's just obvious to anyone with two marbles rolling around upstairs.
The fact of the matter is, I said we're going to hold y'all accountable.
According to Gamaldi.
How so? Be specific, you coward. Be specific. What does that mean? Because you could take that everything from, oh, we're just going to do what Salvaggio does and charge you with some nonsense because some live streamer said something during your stream, all the way to come in with guns and a no-knock raid and some trumped-up charges and oopsie the wrong house and kill you too. I mean, you could be talking about anything in between there. So what are you talking about, you coward? Be specific. Don't be all hide behind this big vague word, oh, I'm a tough guy. Anybody could, I hate to tell you this, you're not the biggest guy in the room, right? Like, the only reason why people don't actually hold you accountable for your words physically is because you're protected by all these men with guns. But you'd never be saying this shit just open in a bar somewhere, just out on the street and the sidewalk. You would never be talking that tough guy stuff. I mean, the psychology of the psychotic. My paycheck's up on here. I got a family, and I got family and friends who love and care about me, and I've got all this status and power, and I've got future goals and aspirations and ambition. You're as blind as a bat.
By using social media to counter what he says are false narratives about police. Ashton Woods, an organizer with Black Lives Matter Houston, says the group doesn't advocate violence and worries the comments will create deeper divides.
It looks like the police are trying to get aggressive and using this as an excuse to clamp down on black and brown communities who have a problem with policing in the first place.
Those victims weren't even black or brown, and there's more colors under the rainbow than black and brown that give police problems, and much more effective problems, by the way, too.
Mayor Turner says right now his attention is on the wounded officers and their well-being. It's not clear if in the coming days he'll weigh in on the issue. At City Hall, Jess.
Brought to you by your mainstream news media outlet who's in the back pocket of the police and daddy government. I'm signing off. Miss Brainwash. This one's 10 minutes long. The next one's 40 minutes long. I've got them kind of queued up. So here comes, I'm just going to give some little funny commentary for a little bit here.
Twitter and other areas, but let's listen.
So this is the mayor in blue. Look at all these stars. Woo, be impressed.
First and foremost,
be impressed.
I would just say right off the bat that no officer has died.
Oh, did you catch that miss up? No one, I mean, no officer has died. Because, yeah, 2 people died, huh? No, I mean, no officer has died. Little slip, almost lost it. Oops.
And folks are trying to start those rumors, so I want to say that right off the bat.
Who's trying to start a rumor? Had anybody heard anyone anywhere on the internet spread a rumor that some of these cops died, or any one of them? I never heard that rumor.
Before I make some specific comments on what occurred tonight, Mayor Turner and the council members here, Mayor Turner will open up the briefing. Mayor?
Bought, paid for politician.
Let me just start off by saying that this has been a tough day for our city.
It's a tough day for your city every day of the year because you've got these goons, these bribed thugs, gangbanging style with badges and guns, walking everywhere, trying to enforce non-violent, victimless criminal charges against innocent people, mostly for extortion. It's always a bad day for your city, but not for you. Well, that's a nice suit, by the way.
But I certainly want to encourage all Houstonians to pray for all of our police officers.
Pray for them all. Look at the data set. All the praying in the world, this has been studied. They've taken a huge sample size of prayers being offered for those people with like medical conditions and who need it. And they go, who recovered and who didn't? Who died and who got better? It's a wash. It's a coin toss. Praying doesn't do shit. If you don't believe me, go look at the data. It will show, right? That's what it does. Oh, man. I'm sorry. Let's take a moment to feel sorry for everybody who shovels off responsibility for justice in this life on a fictional entity and hopefully a life hereafter. It's just, ugh.
Who are at Memorial Hermann. This is one of the finest hospitals you will find anywhere in the country, and they are being attended to with the best medical care. So pray for all of our police officers.
What about the 2 that got shot and killed? Was there any presumption of innocence there? I mean, I want to see the coroner's report, because I bet they're just full of shotgun pellets. There's more to this story that's coming. It gets better and better and more bullshit and more bullshit.
I will tell you one of them is either will be discharged if it has not already been. That's good news. And for the others who will be remaining here at the hospital, pray for them and pray for their family.
God doesn't care. What if there is no God? What if there is no God? This is your leader of your whole city. That's what he's relying on. He doesn't have anything better to rely upon than the questionable existence of a fictional entity who has way more things to do than 4 individuals out of 7 billion on one planet in the entire universe. This omnipotent creature. That makes perfect sense if you live in a tiny bubble and a double-digit IQ, maybe.
Pray for their spouses, their children, their parents, all of their.
Pray for the people who raised someone to be a cop. Pray for someone who has sex with cops and help support them in their life. All these people deserve your prayers. Woo, yeah.
Loved ones, and there are many loved ones that are on the road, en route here. So pray for those who will be flying from outside of the state.
Oh my goodness.
And pray for those who are on the road driving in. That's important.
Pray for anybody who shakes their hand at the airport. Pray for the TSA agents that send them through security. Pray for the mosquitoes that bite them, that their blood will taste delicious. I mean, how far out are you going to take this, dude?
Let me also thank EMS and the fire department for the work that they did in getting all of them here to this hospital in very quick time. Let me tell you, let me commend.
Yes, we need to borrow the credibility of those true first responders who everybody respects, the EMS. And we're going to mention the fire department because, hey, there aren't enough fires to put out with automatic sprinklers everywhere. So, and it's dead of winter. So, yeah, we're just going to bring them in here too because we're all the same level. All these cops, they're on the same level as EMTs that have to go deal with the worst traumatic-looking, PTSD-causing horrific injuries and try and put these people back together mainly in car accidents and drug overdoses. Oh, yeah, the cops are on the same level of those heroes. Uh-huh.
EMS, Chief Pena, the fire department, all of them who responded to our police officers in that moment of need and got them here in Houston. We want to work night and day.
We get it, dude.
And thankful for every members. I want to say a special thanks, but they are just
shooting. So at about 4:15 p.m., a narcotics group 15 from the Houston Police Department.
They were all undercover narcotics agents. He mentioned that in this next briefing I've got lined up here for you.
Who was working an investigation involving the sales of narcotics out of a residence in the 7800 block of Hardy Street, responded to Hardy Street as a team of about a dozen narcotics officers and about a half a dozen patrol officers.
18 armed men against one house. Just slight overkill. I mean, it really doesn't take a whole lot of courage when you got those kind of numbers.
From the East Side Division. The patrol officers were there to provide support and obviously to provide the uniform presence for this operation.
Uniform presence, violent bullying, coercive threats to keep people compliant, obedient, and quiet.
Shortly before 5 o'clock, the narcotics officers attempted to serve a search warrant on the location at 70.
That means banging their door, guns drawn.
800 Hardy Street. They announced themselves as Houston police officers while simultaneously breaching the front door of the residence.
What good does it do to announce? Anybody could do. If someone's banging down your door, like if you were legit bad guys, right? Let's say you had home invasion before. This has happened. This is real true stories. This has happened. And they bang down your door, but then while identifying themselves, oh, we're the police, we're the police. Are you just supposed to believe them in the heat of that moment? That doesn't gain you any favor. That doesn't give you any credibility. Oh, well, they identified themselves as they were banging on the door, guns drawn, screaming at the top of their lungs.
And while the police car, the marked police unit with uniformed members as well as the police officers or the police garb also hit the siren to make sure everybody can and hit the lights so they knew the police officers were there. Immediately upon breaching the door, the officers came under fire from one or two suspects inside the house. We're not sure how many of the suspects fired this time. As you can imagine, it was a pretty chaotic scene over there.
Now, in the other briefing, he says that first a large pit bull came at him, then somebody came around the corner shooting. Not immediately. So he's contradicting himself from one press conference to the next.
There, and the investigation's unfolding. As a result of the exchange of gunfire between our officers and one or two suspects, we have 5 officers injured. 4 were struck by gunfire. 2 officers are currently in surgery. They're in surgery for gunfire.
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. That's not a tragedy. That's justice. You had better be acting in a justified manner if you want the accolades of any kind of heroic endeavor. But when you're just coming in over a bullshit drug war, no. You live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Sustained, and they are in critical but stable condition, and we're hopeful that with the prayers of this community that they will recover. But again, they are in critical condition but stable. Their families are here. Some of the families are in transit, but 2 officers are currently in surgery, hospitalized for observation. They are basically ambulatory and officers. The initial one of the suspects actually.
All right, this is all covered better in this hearing here, and I've got it queued up. Oh, this propaganda gets thick. I think one of the officers caught one in the face so bad they don't even want to talk about it. Like, he's gonna have multiple surgeries. Sounds like he got messed up.
On some of the information that you may or may not have, but let me just say that the involved officers are all undercover narcotics officers. Because of security concerns and some other issues and ongoing investigations, we will not be releasing names at this point.
Oh, shoot. Did I just do that?
Going to move for his shotgun. At that time,
sorry.
Narcotics officers from the Houston Police Department.
So, we're not going to be releasing their names meaning right now they're not going to be held accountable for their actions. Because I tell you what, they murdered this woman. And I don't believe their story for a second. Listen to this story.
From the group 15.
In a panic, they murdered her.
Initiated a search warrant at the location at the 800 block of Harding Street. Upon making entry, they immediately came under fire. The first officer through the door, armed with a shotgun, was charged immediately by a very large pit bull that charged at that officer. He discharged rounds that we know that the dog was struck and killed. At the same time, a male suspect came from around the back and started an open fire with a
Came around the back, like the back of the house, shooting through a window, or around a hallway corner. Came through the back. That's all the detail you've got on that approach. It's pretty critical detail.
357 Magnum revolver. That officer.
I used to own a 357 Magnum revolver. They are big.
Was struck in the shoulder. He went down, fell on the sofa in the living room, at which time a female suspect went towards that officer, reached over the officer, and started making a move for his shotgun.
What if she just heard all this chaos going on, bullets flying, and was trying to get under cover? They just determined right then and there, death sentence for you, you're reaching for the shotgun. There's no way in hell it happened like that. I'd bet my life that's not how it went down. But hey, we don't have any cameras. In 2019, as easy as it is to put a chest cam on everyone, we don't have any footage whatsoever. But we're here to protect and serve you.
At that time, backup officers, other officers on the staff that made entry, discharged their firearms, striking that female suspect. An exchange of gunfire.
Striking that female suspect. You killed her. Of course, they won't use that word. They won't be like, they murdered this bitch. They won't do that. Somebody made a panic call, and that type of stuff happens all the time in that type of scenario, I'm sure. You panic, you see a body, somebody just got shot, screw you, better you than me, blam, 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 you're done. And that's what can happen when you go in banging on down a door over what? The sale of heroin from a system that sells enough opiates to kill half of everybody who overdoses in this country. I mean, is this the Twilight Zone? Somebody pinch me. Is this a bad dream? I mean, were they running child porn sex orgies? No. Were they armed to the teeth and ready to storm city council chambers? No. What could possibly were they hanging people? What could possibly justify going in that way? That has anything to do with a drug war. Anything. Clear the houses around it if you must, and knock on the damn door. Well, that's going to give them a chance to look out and then shoot at us from the outside. Well, take cover. And show them that they don't have any kind of escape, and that this is just a matter of time. I mean, of course, I don't even want any of that done to somebody over a drug war charge. But that type of action would have prevented these cops from being shot and those two people from being killed. And that perfectly reasonable. Very, very close to an actual no-knock warning house raid. When, oh, by the way, sometimes you get the house wrong too, right? All for cash. They're hoping to find a big pile of cash.
The officer that I described yesterday, that's 54 years of age, this is the third time in his career he's been shot.
You'd think you learned your lesson after the first.
And this guy is 54, and here he is, not retired, but actually being the case agent.
We're tough. See, by giving all these compliments to your fellow officers, you're directly complimenting yourself. Okay? Well, if these officers are badass, so am I, because look, I look just like them. In fact, I outrank them, so what does that make me? Like, shut up.
The officer who's actually the officer that breached the door, and when you breach the door, you don't make entry, your other officers make entry, he immediately knew that he had his partners were down, and he made entry. When he made entry, he himself got shot. After we had two officers.
Now, if you're in that situation, you know your two guys in there got shot, and you don't make a move to address what just happened on the inside. Let's say you just retreat and go back to the squad car, you know what's going to happen to you? That's the end of your career. And all of your status and all your friends within the police department will shame you for the rest of your natural life. You have to make a move in there. You get paid to make a move in there. Like the pressure of what would happen to me if I actually retreated in this moment, intense. If he was just a neighbor who heard shooting going on in the house next door and somebody screaming, and then that neighbor who has no skin in the game walks over and tries to confront whoever's doing the shooting, that guy's a hero. That guy's got the crazy kind of courage that very, very few men have. I'm sure I don't have it. I wouldn't go over there in that situation. But these guys are just trying to borrow that same level of impressive bravery for themselves, and it's so transparently comical.
Officers down and another one shot. The remaining officers in the stack started laying down cover fire, left positions of cover themselves, and they all, I believe, heroically pulled their fellow officers out of harm's way.
Now, did they pull their fellow officers out of harm's way? Or do you just believe right now in this moment, based on the information that you have right now, that the officers were pulled out of harm's way? Because if they left officers in that building, you know how that would look and how that would sound, right? Right? Because you're not supposed to leave men behind like that, right? But you don't have any cameras, so we just have to go with this story, huh? Ah, I see.
And then we all know what happened between Lifeline, EMS, and Houston Police, where we escorted everybody here either by ambulance or by...
All right, that's about it. How much easier do we have to make it? How much more does technology have to achieve in order to make it just impossibly easy for there to be cameras everywhere? It's already that way. We know for a fact you don't want cameras there because stuff's going to go wrong and you don't want to be held accountable for the details that do. Because, the public, the sheep, would look very unfavorable upon officers making split-second decisions that are incorrect and they kill a 58-year-old woman, especially a woman these days. We all know. Public pressure is not favoring you. The only people who do support you are those people who live in homes and pay property taxes, and most of them are senior citizens and they vote. And if they call, you come a-running. But everyone else knows that your main job is to make money through extortion and filling prisons for judges and a government that has declared a war on people who don't want you involved in their lives. The law books are thick enough to fill an entire library. Give me a break. You control nearly every aspect of our lives, our professions, traveling from point A to point B, our romantic relationships, our kids. You've got your fingers on all of it. And we've just been able to baby step over the years and decades to this point, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse, and now the cameras are here. And now what? That's why you're facing this type of scenario. That's why you don't have cameras. That's why you've got the mainstream media in your back pocket. That's why your coward-ass union president has to say something as vague as, "We know this is going to get some bad press because activism's heavy as it's ever been. Warning to any of you who consider yourselves activists. Those who spread police rhetoric will be held responsible. We will track you." There's too many of us for you to track, fool. You don't have the man-hours or the budget to do that, and you know it. There are no leaders here. Do you get it? If you didn't learn this in Afghanistan and Iraq, are you going to have to learn the same lesson here? You hit one, you're going to cause 10 more to spring up who are more motivated than the one was. What do you think language like that's going to... "Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I better stop talking on YouTube and pointing cameras at cops." Really? Really? I mean, I dare you. Go ahead and try and find some leaders in this whole wide spectrum of activists and see, oh, we'll get this one. We think he's a leader. He's a leader. He's a leader. Aha, now we got your leaders. Now what? There are no leaders. I dare you. I dare you, Joe. I dare you to start going after people, tracking them with their cell phones and their numbers and coming after them with charges or worse. I dare you. Because you're going to make the government's fall that much faster by doing so. So, of course, I want you to. The paychecks are going to run out at some point. The economy is going to tip over at some point. You're not going to be the only superpower in the world at some point. And yet these records about your actions today, here, and now are forever. You want to live in your small bubble and think, well, I don't care. That guy's a fool. I'm protected now. I've got all the power now. They don't have any power now, so I'm just going to go on that. Yeah, see how that works out for you 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You don't think people are going to be able to memorize your face? It doesn't matter if you get old or sick or fat or need surgery. Your face is your face. So watch what the fuck you say when you're talking to activists challenging the cops. We've got bigger balls than you'll ever know because you are one of them. I'm somebody who's worn the flag. I'm somebody who's been on that team. I know exactly where you're coming from. I know everything about where you're coming from. And I know you do it for a paycheck, and we're not. We're facing prison and fines and our lives ruined and being doxxed and exposed and all of it. And how much are you risking? And how many resources protect you? We're going to track you, spreading police rhetoric about police being the enemy. Please. Oh, I'm scared, Joe. You got to me. Hilarious, dude. I dare you. I triple dog dare you. Nothing would make the cause blow up bigger than that. And if you doubt me, go next door over to Leon Valley and ask them. Ask them. They wouldn't let our public cameras in their lobby. And look how that blew up. What you're talking about is way worse than that. Way worse. So I hope you're too stupid to realize the reality, the truth of what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, some others have. You might want to confer with them first before you spout off your mouth in some emotional rant. I'm going to use police shooting day as a stump for my agenda so I get my face on the news. Weak. I'd say all of this right to your face, too. That's the thing. I'm pretending like you're here in the room with me. You're goons, too. You don't think I've faced a room full of goons by myself before? We have live streaming cameras. Whatever you do is going to get caught. You should see what I carry around with me on my person and in my car on the daily, just in case I see sirens behind me. You're just making more and more people more and more prepared to do exactly what you're dodging over this entire incident. You will not have anything to do with accountability and transparency for your actions. And that is exactly what we want. And you know it. So, hey, game on. But we're not going to do any violence because that's your game. We don't need to do any violence because we're standing on the truth. And the truth doesn't need violence or insults or emotional outbursts and threats. It's consistent. It stands the test of time. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. What happens if somebody figures out, hey, I'm going to have a video game remote-controlled turret or two available and ready should the cops ever decide to break in my house? Now, I'm never ever doing something like that. What if someone else who's crazy and rich out there decides, hey, I'm going to start dive bombing on selected individuals with drones? You don't think that's out of the realm of possibility? 17 years after 9/11, you don't think a drone could do something that jet airplanes can't? You tell your judges and legislators to back off. This baby step forward is only going to last so long. I think I'm saying all this for nothing, really. I'm really saying it for the laughs, because I don't think you're smart enough, nor do I think the general population is smart enough to actually do what I'm suggesting. I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse to the tipping point, and then who knows, it might be hockey mask time. But dude, really? That's hilarious that you dare to try and mention some kind of vague, fuzzy threat to quote-unquote activists. That you'll somehow come after us and hold us accountable for spreading anti-police rhetoric. The police spread the anti-police rhetoric through their actions. I know Texas is probably the last place the drug war would ever drop from. I know that's a foreign language to you, but that's the first thing that has to go. The evidence is already in existence in other, more advanced parts of the world. And your denial of that is not helping your cause or your image, which I know is actually the most important factor here beyond us all. Public and therefore political pressure, which rules your world. All right, I'm done ranting. Woo, that was a long one. One of my longer rants. Congratulations. I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait. Hopefully I'm alive to see it too.